What's up, everyone? This is the Next Take podcast, episode 219 with Mikel
And Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So, on today's episode, we're going to be doing a type episode, and Tanika will introduce us with that topic. Tanika, go ahead and do that.
So we are going to be having a conversation on fast fashion. We're going to be talking about let's be real, the horribleness of fast fashion.
So, w- well, I know you're going to explain it, but
hmm
in terms of fast fashion, do you mean fashion industry, or fast fashion as in Uh, I'm trying to figure out what you mean, but go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Continue.
Basically, you would probably know what fast fashion is if we're
Mhm.
using um companies like Shein or um
Oh, is that
yeah.
cheap fashion? Isn't that what
It's
call it?
essentially cheap fashion.
Yeah.
It's fashion where you know, it's kind of the
Yeah.
new thing
Yeah.
really quickly. You have easy access to it because it is
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
And essentially the drawbacks of this industry
Mhm.
is that people who buy from these types of places when you're
Uh-huh.
buying clothing, more so than anything, is then you get rid of it. And 9 times out of 10, those clothes that you're getting rid of is actually impacting certain countries in
Huh.
the world.
Hmm.
So that's
Mm.
essentially what happens. This is something that kind of fell out on my lap. The impacts of this kind of fell on
Yeah,
my lap
yeah.
a couple years back. And I'm like, I didn't need, again, I don't shop these things. I
Mhm.
think the only thing I ever really took part in when it was popular was Wish.com. And
I was gonna say that. I wasn't sure if that was one of the stores that are fast
it
fashion.
I mean,
Yeah.
Wish.com would have essentially been a similar thing at the
Uh-huh.
time,
Uh-huh.
but if we just didn't have a name for it, I guess, at that point in
Mm.
time.
Mm.
Because Wish.com has been around, I mean,
Still
years.
kinda, yeah,
It still
still
kind of
kinda is
is,
around.
but I don't think it's as popular today as it was even a
Yeah,
decade ago.
I think
It's
what
other
took
it's other
over
companies now that are more popular.
Temu was one,
Temu
sh
is
sh
the other one.
and then
Temu is
there's
basically Wish.com walked so Temu could run.
yeah,
That's basically, like, what
yeah, basically, yeah.
it basically is, and Temu is very similar to what Wish.com was, where it wasn't like for me, when I used Wish.com, I would say short time, maybe a year, it but I didn't do a lot of purchases necessarily, but I would say within a year span,
Mhm.
and I wasn't buying clothing. I would have
Yeah,
never have bought clothing on Wish.com.
yep,
I don't even know if they had clothing, to be totally honest with you. But, but yeah, but Temu, same idea that it offers things that you like, stuff like that, where it's like, you can get fake jewelry or you could get, like, something cheap that, whatever.
mhm,
And, um, I don't recall, I mean, I'm sure clothing was an option, I just didn't do that. Um,
mhm,
Temu can do the same thing.
yeah,
But it seems the more popular side of the website is the clothing.
right,
Um, Again, I've never taken part in either Temu or Shein or anything like it.
mhm,
I know people who have with Shein, essentially, um, and Temu to an extent, but it's just something I just never really thought to partake in.
mhm,
Um, And then kind of hearing what this does, what it's doing to the ecosystem essentially is just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to take part in that.
right,
Um, Amazon to an extent, it's not quite the same idea, but it,
yeah,
but there obviously is clothing. on
there's like
Amazon
yeah, there's
that
small
you c
vendors that
yeah,
are yeah, yeah, go
and you
ahead.
can do the exact same thing,
Yeah.
and you're essentially still bogging down.
Mhm,
Amazon is a huge company in comparison to these others,
mhm.
but, essentially you're doing a similar thing, um, using
Right.
Amazon, but, um which I do use.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Some
but I use
people
it
who are
practically, I guess, is the again, I don't really buy I mean, I have bought clothing. I have bought
uh
clothing, um, on on Amazon. I bought leggings, and I freaking love them.
mhm,
My friends
uh,
helped me with them too, like, I got them, at Christmas time,
mhm,
and I went to see her after I got them, and she's like, "Where'd you get those?" I said, "Amazon." She's like, "Send me the link." She has them too. Last time I saw her a couple months ago, she's like, "You like my leggings?" Because
mhm.
she was wearing we were wearing pretty much the same. Because I got a blue, she got a brown, and I think she got the same colors.
Right.
We were wearing opposite colors. Anyways, that's my
Nice.
story on Amazon. So,
Yeah, yeah, well,
um,
yeah, like, some of the views on here are probably, like, Amazon shoppers, so, like, basically,
yeah.
that could yeah, so, yeah.
Alright. So let's go into the episode now. So fast fashion, as I've just kind of went through, is a term describing the rapid production of inexpensive, low quality clothing that often mimics popular styles of fashion labels, big name brands, and independent designers.
Mm,
By endlessly offering new trends at cheap prices, fast fashion brands such as Shein, Zara, um, and it says H&M, but I would never have considered H&M quote
mm,
unquote fast fashion, but
no,
I
no,
guess
and
I guess in a s but again, I haven't shopped in H&M in easily 15 years, but or
mm,
20. And,
yeah,
it could have changed over time that maybe it is in the sense of it's a brick and mortar, but maybe
pro
it still has the similar idea, but, like, honestly, I don't know.
probably in the early years of, when it's probably started, when it launched.
But we're not
Well,
talking about then,
not
we're
well
talking about now. Fast fashion, the terminology of fast fashion is fairly a new thing. I
uh-huh.
don't think H&M started off that way, not at all.
You don't
I
think so?
think
Okay.
no, I don't think so. I'm saying that it could have progressed to what this fast fashion is now because everything's expensive now.
Mm,
So, it is cheaper for them to make clothing that's of today's fashion, but also inexpensive to create, to make, and then you're selling it at a higher price. Now, these other places that we've mentioned, Shein, Temu, they tend to
mhm.
sell things at a, you know, cheaper
Yeah,
price.
cheaper, yeah.
But when you have like, because again, they're online, but when you have like these brick and mortar stores,
Yep,
that is
different.
something that yeah, you can hike up those prices and you're
Yeah,
never
because you yeah.
wiser.
Yeah, because you
These
have to pay.
the the clothes we wear is not expensive to make, yet we're spending out of our asses to buy them,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm,
Of course, designer clothing is different in a sense where you're buying the name more so than anything,
mhm.
but clothing is not that expensive to make, but we're
Yeah,
spending a lot of money for them. It is what you need it. It is what it is. But yeah.
yeah, 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 I agree.
Um, so yeah, and H&M encouraged consumers to continually buy more clothing. Consequence, consequently,
Mm,
previous purchases, perhaps worn a handful of times, are then soon discarded. So hence that fast fashion. Um, the rise of the fast fashion industry in the late 20th and early 21st centuries has had enormous consequences, from its myriad environmental impacts to its exploitation of garment workers.
mm,
So, the history of fast fashion,
mhm,
again, a terminology that I feel has been coined more recently,
mhm.
but something that's been happening for about 50 years. So,
Right.
the fast fashion model emerged in the 1970s when
Mhm,
retailers began exporting production to countries, particularly in Asia. As we know, if we look on your tag, it's most likely going to say made in China or made in Taiwan or made in maybe Japan.
mhm,
But, like, yeah. And where they could pay workers lower wages than in Western countries. It's just like our call centers. 9 times out of 10, they are they're out in, like, India or the
mhm, mhm.
Philippines because it is cheaper for them to put it out there than to have them here. Same idea.
Right.
So, um, it took hold in the 1990s as companies accelerated output to keep up with trends. Previously, new clothing collections could be expected 4 times a year, but with fast fashion, consumers can now expect new lines of clothing much more frequently, some brands generating 36 collections a year. Because again, I I mean, I don't know how things work with men's clothing, but I know for women's clothing, we I remember it being there would be a new collection of clothing at any store that you're going to
Mhm,
that was for the season. You would get your fall selection usually out around end of July into August. That's when
mhm.
your fall collection would kind of come out. Then you had your winter that kind of came out again in like October, usually. And then, so on and so forth, always a couple of months ahead. Um, but you would have for each season.
Right.
Now, when you're talking about potentially doing 36 collections a year,
Mhm,
that's too much. That is a lot. And when you're dealing with people, I feel like, obviously, I think in any generation, there are people who care about the fashion that's trending. But I think, the older you get, the more you're like, why is this back in fashion? Why is this? Why is it? And then you just don't care as much. Whereas the younger generation, the ones that are, exploring themselves and exploring their fashion
mhm.
sense, are going to get sucked into that. Hence why I feel like maybe I'm not saying it's wasn't bad before, but I'm saying
Mhm.
it seems to have maybe gotten worse just for the fact that, like, this terminology that we now have has been
But
coined in more, recent years. That's
but
maybe
do
the
do
last
don't
decade.
but don't you think every young generation is like that? Not just
But
like
that's what I'm saying, yes.
oh, okay.
But
Yeah, yeah.
again, what I'm
Yeah.
s but what I'm saying is the difference of, like, when I was in my 20s,
Mhm,
or late teens into my 20s,
mhm,
is you only had a certain amount of collections to work with. You had to wait until the next season to get in a new collection. Otherwise, you're just looking at the same thing that you were looking at before.
mm,
You had less option. Whereas now, if you're having some stores coming out with 36 collections a year, there's never an opportunity where you're not gonna walk into a store and see something different.
mm,
Before that wasn't the case. You walk into a store and you're like, "Oh, this is all stuff I saw already." Whereas now it's again, like, even just today, me and my mom walked into Reitman's today. Now, I'm not sure how much they're up in the fast fashion, but I'm sure their
mhm, mhm,
collections have increased to some extent. But I feel like we had only just walked into the Reitmans maybe a month and a half ago and
mm,
walked in today, and the clothing that is displayed is different than what it was just a month and a half ago. Now, maybe a month and a half ago, they still had the spring collection. I don't know.
mm.
But it, but I don't think so. I think it's just different
But
stuff.
but the doesn't that but doesn't that change every, like, season though? Like, the
But again,
display and
that's
yeah.
hear what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
is what was the case.
Uh-huh.
That's what was the case previously.
Mhm.
That is not what is happening today with fast fashion. With fast fashion, they're coming out with multiple, so call it any season. You
Mhm.
could see upwards of 5 different collections in that one season, whereas before, you're getting 1 collection per season,
Mm.
depending on where you're going.
Mhm.
But yes, that's the thing, is that
Yeah.
the amount of collections you're getting at any particular store
Yeah.
has increased exponentially,
Yeah. Maybe.
creating that fast fashion industry.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'm not shopping enough. That's probably why.
Oh,
'Cause
no,
I'm
I
not
don't either.
saying,
Trust me, I don't
yeah,
shop
I'm
enough,
not. I just
you
I
know?
because I like I don't really like I just know like every single time a store changes its store, it changes seasons. Like
Yes,
winter it changes the winter stuff, spring
yes,
it changes the spring stuff, and then
but that's
summer. It's
how
just
it's
yeah,
supposed to be. But when you're
yeah,
dealing like, again, I'm not saying a lot
yeah,
of
yeah,
these,
yeah, yeah.
like,
No, 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 I know, I know what
brick
you're
and
saying.
mortar
It
stores
just
are doing
yeah,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm sure to keep up with the demand, there is even maybe a slight increase
yeah,
in the amount of collections that are
yeah,
coming out. Um, so, that's the problem. The
yeah.
problem is that they have to keep up with what the fast fashion industry has created. And
Mhm.
here's the other part of it. Listen, if you're and this is the problem with the younger generation. I was brought up a little bit differently. Um, and I'm sure there are some people who were brought up similarly to me, but then there are people who were not. You buy clothing and then you get tired of it, not because you are tired of wearing it, but because fashion is saying it's no longer cool to wear it. So instead of, oh, I don't know, donating it,
Mhm.
you're throwing it away. That's the problem. Now, listen, there were clothes that were bought for me or whatever that I didn't particularly like wearing, but I didn't throw them out. I have always been a household where we donate the clothing. We normally always donate to CDA,
Mhm.
Canadian Diabetes Association,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's what we do. We don't just throw stuff away. Now, is it possible that some of those clothing is not making it you know, to where it's supposed to go? Usually it's supposed to go to Value Village.
Yeah.
Um, sure, no, probably not.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I hope to hell that they're using it for some sort of better cause than just throwing it out, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so that's the biggest problem. It's the fast fashion is part of the problem, but it's not the only problem. The other side of the
Mhm.
problem is people buying their clothing and just throwing them out and not giving thought to where is that going.
Right.
And again, most of us here in in especially North America,
Mhm.
don't think about those things. We don't think
Mhm.
about where those things are going. We just say, "Well, we don't want this anymore, so we're gonna throw this out."
Mm.
Um, anyway, so yeah, so fast fashion has significant environmental impacts both during and after production. The fashion industry as a whole is responsible for 10% of carbon emissions, uses large quantities of water,
Mhm.
and employs dyes and chemicals that pollute the environment.
Hmm.
It also produces a lot of textile waste. Fast fashion, in particular, with its low prices and poor quality items, encourages consumers to discard an item of clothing, even if it has been worn only a few times. The clothing ends up in landfills around the world, including in the so called quote unquote clothing graveyard in I think it's Atacama Desert
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
Chile.
Mhm.
I also know that there was apparently a dump in Nigeria that is, I think, supposed to be the largest dump site for fast fashion.
Right.
Um, moreover, fast fashion companies primarily use synthetic fibers,
Mm.
such as polyester, nylon, and acrylic. All of these materials are inexpensive to produce, but they are derived from fossil fuels. Hence,
mm,
items made from these materials are not biodegradable and will remain in landfills for centuries.
mm,
That's the other part of it.
mm.
Listen, it's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years from now. We're going to be dead and gone. And the clothing that is being dumped in these landfills are still going to be there.
Right.
And this is what's annoying. It's like we know what is going to happen to this planet. We have been told many times what is going to happen to this planet, and not now, but it's happening slowly but surely. And
Yeah.
this planet is not going to be inhabitable. Yet we still do the same shit and wonder why. Why is the world coming to an end? Why is the world not global warming? Why is this because we're doing it. We're the problem. And
Mhm.
that's what's annoying. I can give you some past where it's like, oh, you didn't realize, oh, you didn't know to a certain extent. But now we know. And we're still doing it. So
Hmm.
polyester doesn't even breathe. Who wants that? Anyways, in addition to
Mhm.
its environmental impacts, fast fashion tends to exploit the workers responsible for its production. Most clothing production is done in the global south, including post-colonial, there we go, countries in Africa,
Mhm. Mhm.
Asia, and South America, where laborers have few protections against long hours and unfair wages. Many work 16 hours every day, make very little money, and face retaliation for refusing to work overtime.
Right.
Garment workers also labor in unsafe conditions, including windowless spaces,
Mhm.
dangerously high temperatures, violent managers, and harmful chemical exposure. Perhaps the most famous event illustrating the um, the poor conditions of garment workers was the Rana Plaza tragedy. So in 2013, an
Mhm.
8-story building that housed several garment factories in Savar, Bangladesh, collapsed and killed some 1,100 laborers and injured thousands more.
Mhm.
Factory owners had ignored warnings not to use the building when cracks were discovered a day earlier. Because the supply chain is incredibly complex, retailers are mostly unfamiliar with the sourcing and production of their clothing and are therefore unaware of the conditions workers face to make their products. The consumer can play a pivotal role in mitigating the effects of fast fashion by practicing so called slow fashion, which involves purchasing fewer and higher quality pieces of clothing. Although more expensive, such clothing can last longer. Once a user is done with a garment, he or she can donate it instead of discarding in order to help divert textiles from landfills,
Mm.
as I said. Um, Although some donated clothing goes directly to landfills, a lot of the items that are not resold at donation stores are sent to textile recycling centers, where they are processed into filling for furniture or insulation for buildings. So
Yeah, that's true.
reuse.
That's true.
We've been talking about it, right? You
Yep.
also reuse, recycle, and yeah.
Yeah, the 3 R's. Yep.
Yep. The overproduction and poor quality of fast fashion, however, has increasingly challenged donation centers and secondhand clothing shops that struggle to keep up with the volume of donations and find it difficult to sell inferior products.
Mm.
Retailers have taken steps toward moderating the damage caused by fast fashion.
Mhm.
Some brands now offer sustainable collections, but because there is no oversight or consensus about what constitutes sustainability, the legitimacy of claims that these items are better for the environment is up for debate. Moreover, many of these measures fail to take into account the harsh working conditions of manufacturers.
Mm.
In addition, retailers such as H&M have begun accepting gently used clothing in exchange for store vouchers. Interesting.
Uh,
These items are then either sold secondhand, reused for other clothing products, or shredded and recycled for insulation and furniture padding, as mentioned earlier.
Yep. Yeah, you can use you can use clothes in different ways. You don't have to like, technically like, throw them in the garbage. You can use it like to use it as a piece of cloth. You can use it in
Literally gonna say that. You
yeah.
could be like my grandpa and reuse something as a cloth.
Mhm. Mhm. So, yeah.
And again, like, if you don't wanna wear some clothing, because
Mhm.
it's quote unquote "out of fashion,"
Mhm.
then why not keep it to wear around the house? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's
that you can
another
do.
option,
Yeah, that you
depending
can
on
do.
what it is, right? But,
That
like, that's another option.
yeah. That you can do, or you can just sell it online if
Yeah.
you want to, or give it to someone that well, I know you can donate, but you give it to someone that's close to you or someone that you know that really needs it, So,
Yeah, like, there's so many options
yep, yep,
that, you can do if you no longer want the clothing.
yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah.
but again,
Mhm,
I think until they put a handle on this fast fashion
mhm,
situation,
mhm,
it's never gonna stop because, like, again, like I said earlier, it's like the younger generation is so hungry um and again, you're just trying to figure out your fashion sense, like, you're trying to figure out what matches you.
mhm,
And again, like, my style has changed so much from high school to my 20s till now. And, that's the time where you're supposed to explore. I'm pretty okay in what my fashion is today and what my
mhm,
style is today because I
mhm,
I
mhm,
opt for comfortability. But like that's whatever. But like when you're younger, yes, you go out there and you explore and whatever. Um, but that's that's part of the problem, unfortunately, is you know
mm,
that's not going to stop though, and it shouldn't. Um,
mhm,
I think in that sense, it has to go to the companies that is basically putting these new things out and is somewhat responsible for the quote unquote changes of the fashion as well. Because, one person buys something and they're like, oh, that's cool. I want that too. And then here we go. The cycle continues. Um, so I think they really do need to put a handle on it so that this can kind of
mhm,
slow down
yep,
for the goodness of the earth.
mhm,
But
yep, yep.
that is fast fashion.
Okay, alright. Appreciate that, Tanika. Um, Interesting stuff. Yeah, yeah, if you have, like, clothes that you, don't want, you don't need, be free to donate to your, nearest, local thrift store or, like like Tanika discussed, like, be free to give it just use it. Use it for, your cloth, use it for, something that you need to use or, give
Or like
it
I
to
mentioned, just donating it to like
mhm,
operations or corporations
mhm,
like CDA, again, Canadian
mhm, mhm,
Diabetes Association.
mhm.
It's no skin off your back. I mean, yes, it's a lot of work making sure you're, putting things in proper labeled boxes or whatever, but they pick it
Yep,
up for you. You put it on your porch the night before and they pick it all up for you. It's no skin off of your back. Um,
definitely.
you don't have to drive to, like a thrift store or whatever and donate if
Mhm,
you don't want
mhm,
to. You can have these people pick it up. Um,
mhm.
so it's that's what we do when we
Yep,
usually we donate stuff and I would say within a month we're starting a new box or bag
mhm,
of stuff that we're going
mhm.
to donate and we just collect over time
Yep,
and and then it's all ready to kind of to
mhm,
go when it's time to call them and say,
yep,
"We got to pick up." But that is what we've literally been doing since I was a child, I think, is something that my mom has always
yeah, yeah,
donated to.
yep.
And I'll
Yeah.
probably keep doing that too myself,
Oh,
but,
no. Yeah, I'll do that
yeah.
myself as well. I did see a commercial a couple of years ago when I was watching the Raptors game, and one of the Raptors commentators was basically in a commercial that had, like, a couple of people donating, not donating, but, like, throwing away jeans, and
Mhm.
the commentator has a famous quote when, when a player gets, like, blocked. You know how, when they shoot a shot and they get blocked, and you know how that happens?
I'm not
Y
that
you know
illiterate in the sports,
Okay.
so I
So,
do understand.
basi basically, the metaphor towards that is when, basically, those 2, people that was throwing away clothes or jeans into the recycle, he was like, "No, no, 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 get that garbage out of here." So basically he was telling them to get that garbage out of here and it to a, uh, donate it to like your nearest local thrift store. So
Yeah,
basically telling you to don't throw that stuff in the garbage. Just put it into give it to someone that needs it. Basically, that's what he was trying to say with that metaphor. But yeah, yeah, that was the commercial. I thought it was pretty funny because yeah, I used to watch him commentating on the Raptors game, and then him saying that in the commercial was pretty funny. But yeah, just yeah, do your best to get back as much as possible. In terms of like fast fashion or clothes in general. And yeah, I'm sure somebody from the other side of that would be very happy that you gave them a piece of clothing that they need. So,
yeah,
yeah. Okay. All
alright.
right. That's
So
it.
we'll be back next week
Mhm.
with another one.
Okay.
Alright,
All right. Peace, guys.
bye. If you liked what you heard with our podcast, you can head on over to our website, which is solo.to/next take podcast. There you can get any of the links to any of our social media, which is Facebook, Instagram at Next Take Podcast, and Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky at Next Take Pod. You can also find links to our Reddit page and many other things, I'm sure. Can't remember all off the top of my head. You can also email us at mikeltanyka@gmail.com. There you can send us any inquiries that you have, any questions, or also any episode ideas. And if you do have episode ideas, just make sure you put in the subject line episode ideas, and we'll add it to our list. If you also liked us, you can like us, rate us, follow us on any of your favorite podcast apps. You can rate us, however, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We would greatly appreciate that. And we'll also move forward and share or spot a light on those who give us 5-star ratings in the future. That is it for us. We'll see you next time for the episode.